I talked to these people about what they knew about the Beatles, and Larry Green said, the Beatles were good singers. They're a good quartet. Apple Blossom Time, God Bless America. Kate Smith sang that. She sang that way down yonder in New Orleans. I'll be seeing you in Apple Blossom Time. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. God Bless America. Land of the free, stand beside us and guide us. And I forget the rest of the words, but I used to know them. Apple Blossom Time, God Bless America. Geez, the Beatles, they was elderly. I don't know. It's been a long time since I seen them. They make good records, though. I'll be seeing you in Apple Blossom Time, Ain't Misbehavin', Saving My Love for You, Molly and Me, Baby Makes Three. Larry, Moe, and Joe, the Beatles. Fergie said, sweet Beatles. Oh, they're the sweetest little animal you ever saw. They come right up to you and they chew up the ice cream for you. And they hand the pecans to you. And those pecans aren't celluloid either. They're the real thing, real pecans. Billy Gass said, they were pretty good. They were the greatest team going, a quartet. I guess they made their money and they went home. They had long hair and they looked pretty good. The girls liked them. They had a guitar and they had another electric guitar. And of course, you couldn't tell the names of the songs. I was sleeping most of the time when he said them. And one of the Beatles got shot and he died. He was syndicated, though, turned to ashes. And that was the end of him. Gunman shot him on 34th Street. Gunman shot him because he spit on his shoe. He said it wasn't him, it was a mistake. That's all I know. And the rest of them are still around, playing on the stage. They went to the funeral when he died, I guess, and then he was syndicated. Herbie Caldwell said, I don't know too much about the Beatles. They chirp and play around. I'm supposed to have coffee, but I don't know where it is. George Stingle said, I never seen them. They're the English ones, ain't they? I heard one song of them, but I don't know what one it was. Someone said it was the Beatles. I never saw them on television, and I just woke up a few minutes ago. Walter Kiernan said, I don't know nothing about the Beatles. I can tell you more about the Salem Fire, June 25th, 1914. It burned 7 days and 7 nights. We had donuts and coffee from the Salvation Army. I also wrote a book about the Salem Fire, worked for the Salem Public Works Department for 15 years. Ken Eglin said, from what I gather, there's some other guys that claim that they started the Beatles, but they're damn liars because John and Paul wrote the songs. Now, you know that. I read it. I knew all about it before it, though. I knew all about it because I used to get the Hollywood News and read about it. There was another guy who got them together, and I can't think of his name. I saw it on television the other day. He was a very popular man in music. Now, it started in Memphis. I was surprised. I thought it started in Europe. It started right here down south. Then they went to London, and that's when they started getting really popular. So now you know this. I don't have to tell you this. John and Paul McCartney, they never got along. Always fighting. And John told Paul, you're not going nowhere. He said that. He'd never be popular, in other words. That's what he said to him. He said that to Paul McCartney. Why he said it, I do not know. But Ringo, he didn't like the way those two were acting. He didn't like the way John was acting towards Paul. He stayed with the group, though, but he had other plans. Finally, he got an offer to go to Hollywood and make pictures, and he just grabbed it. You know the rest with Ringo. Now he's a movie actor. That's it with Ringo. Paul, I guess, is making records. Oh, yeah, he's making records. But not too many. From what I heard on television, they may start up again, come back together. There'll be somebody in John's place. There'll be somebody they can grab. And it's like the Mills Brothers. When they're old man, they stuck right together when their old man died, and they're still up there. They're the best in the world, though, for now anyway, though, let's face it. But I just don't get it. Now, Hollywood has found some guy, though, to play Elvis Presley. They made a picture of it, but I haven't seen it. But I'm dying to see it. But there's nobody that can take Elvis Presley's place. I don't care what anybody says. In my heart, he was very good. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it. They can stop right there and think about it, and they'll know what I was thinking, Now, at the time that the Beatles broke up, I was in the hospital. But I was hearing people talk about it. Paul McCartney and John was still having it out, and Ringo went to Hollywood. I was really surprised to hear that about Ringo, though. Now, George, I don't know what happened to him. He was a very good guitar player. He was always playing his guitar. He loved to play his guitar. But I don't hear no more about him. That was the last I heard of him. Ringo went to Hollywood, and that was it. That was all I heard of him. And I swear, I don't even know what picture he was in. Matter of fact, I didn't even see it. If I saw it, I'd see it, but I'm not going to go across the street and look for it. Now, if you bring a camera in here, I'll look at it, but I'm not going across the street. I mean, I like Ringo. He's all right in my books. He was a pretty good drummer. I'd say fair. You see, he drummed to a different type of music than I was used to. Ringo was no way like Gene Krupa or Buddy Rich. He couldn't touch them, see? He couldn't walk down the same street with those boys. No way. They'd just say, "Where'd you come from?" Those guys really played. See, they talked on those drums. You'd see their lips moving when they was playing. They'd talk to them sticks. That's why you see them bending down low over the snare drum. They're talking to that skin. Many times, Benny Goodman had to stop the band so he could talk to Gene Krupa. He was going crazy on those drums. What people don't understand is musicians, especially drummers. They don't understand drummers. They don't understand musicians, most people. Nobody really understood the Beatles. They come up with a different style of singing. You understand these people singing today? If you do, you're better than me, because I don't. Some I do and some I don't. Some way or another, people got to understand the Beatles, but not really. They had a different beat, you see. Beat is different. Singing's different. People started to understand, and then they broke up. And I could never find what broke them up. Ringo was the first to go. He just got disgusted and he left. He's got a contract with one of the studios now. I don't know which one, MGM, 20th Century Fox, and he's all set. Ella Fitzgerald sang a couple Beatles songs. They all did. They all made records of the Beatles songs. You go into a record shop and you'll find out. That's the only way you can find out, even. If you're out there on the street, you can find out. You can go out in the record stores and ask them. But I find out stuff from the television, and a lot of the news just doesn't get on there. So on that stuff, I put two and two together. I just think about it. I never heard Pearl Bailey sing a Beatles song. She might have, but I never heard it. She probably would, but I don't know if she did. She would sing anything if she could put it across. If it wasn't right, her manager would tell her so. I know that for a fact. You know something Pearl Bailey wouldn't do? She wouldn't make a move until her manager tells her it's okay. If he says so, she goes. If he says no, that's it. They asked the Beatles what they thought of Ella Fitzgerald, and John stopped and said, "I think she's nice." He thought that she was terrific, actually. He never talked bad about no singers. All those famous singers you had, John Lennon talked nice about all of them. I never heard him talk bad about any of them. He didn't like nobody to talk about the Beatles, though. Paul McCartney didn't like it either. None of the boys liked it. Now, the Beatles have got it made. They will always be remembered. They will go down in history. And the rockin', rollin' rock, what do you call them? The rock and roll, the rockin' Stones. No, the Rollin' Stones. They're the biggest draw that you got today. They'll outdraw anybody today. Everybody in the city. I don't know where they are now, but they'll be back. They got to come back and make more money. And those suckers out there will pay it. I mean, I'd like to see them. It's all new singers now. They're all new. New to me. I hope to get out there and find out. Abe Surgikoff on the Beatles. I don't know too much about the Beatles. It was on the television about the Beatles where the older brother threw out the money situation in a suitcase. And the Beatles threw out the money and they became a poor man. I think he had some money and the rest of the Beatles told him not to do that anymore. And the music, I don't know too much about the music. The music, when they started out, they always got an audience, always had a big audience. And they came to have this audience by all these people coming. And he was with them a while, and then they took over this business. The songs they wrote and were published in the United States, some of the songs are in the United States, and they loved to play those instruments. Well, let's see now. See, it was a hardship, and the songs were played in England, and they had a crowd here in Massachusetts, and the police couldn't stop anybody from singing those songs. They had a crowd, and they had to get rid of the crowd, and the crowd was inside, and the other half was outside. That was to listen to them when they were at the Boston Garden, I think. That's where they performed their musical talent. They stayed in Boston for about 3 or 4 days. One played a banjo and was in a picture about training to be a songwriter. It showed them performing the songs that they were singing. It's a training movie. Now, I understand that off the records, they made an invention that puts emblems on sweaters and T-shirts. And then the older brother, Lennon, he took that to heart, and he put emblems on all the T-shirts and sweaters and so forth and so on. But they didn't want him to do that. They said they'd rather have an instrument guy there on the music. But when they were in Boston, they had an argument with the director of the Boston Garden when the director of the Boston Garden told them that they should do what the director said. He had to leave, but in England, they came and asked him to please do the chorus or whatever it is they do in the song. They got another one while they were there in England. That's all I know. There might be more, but I don't know it. I don't know if any of that's correct, but the story of them has been in newspapers and magazines. Fergie said, The Beatles are the Beatles. They clean up all the vermin. They're not very friendly, but they clean up all the vermin. They don't do much else, but they make holes in your house. Beetles, they're like mice. They're like rats. They are rats. Beetles are all right. They ruin a lot of things, but they're good for us. If not for the Beatles, we wouldn't have nothing. The Beatles kill a lot of vermin. What I mean is that the Beatles kill a lot of rats and a lot of mice. Frank Wisniewski said, yeah. I was one of their fans. Ringo, they're all dead, I think. What, there was 5 of them? They're all gone. And finally, John Lowthers said, I can't tell you about the Beatles. I don't know a thing about them. I never worked for them, and they never worked for me.